What if everything you believed about your dog comforting you when you cry was wrong? Not wrong in the way that hurts, wrong in a way that is far more profound than you ever imagined. Picture this. It is late at night. You were sitting on the floor, maybe after a long day, maybe after a phone call you did not want to receive, maybe for a reason you cannot even fully explain, and your dog walks in. No one called them, no door was open for them, they simply appeared. They do not jump on you, they do not bring you a toy, they do not bark. They lower themselves slowly onto the floor beside you, press their warm weight against your leg, and stay. Just stay. And in that moment you think, they know, they understand, they're here to comfort me. But here's what a team of scientists at the Max Planck Institute for Geoanthropology in Germany discovered in 2024 when they put that exact belief under a microscope. Your dog is not comforting you, and the truth of what they are actually doing is something no one in the history of pet content has explained properly, until right now. Welcome to Paws and Psych, the science of what your pet does to your mind. To understand what your dog is really doing when you cry, we need to go inside a laboratory in Germany. Researchers at the Max Planck Institute set up an experiment unlike anything that had been done before. They did not simulate crying. They did not ask owners to act upset. They induced real, genuine emotion in real dog owners and then filmed exactly what their dogs did in response. 77 dog and owner pairs participated. In the first session, owners trained their dogs on a simple task, completely normal, completely calm. In the second session, each owner was shown a carefully selected video clip designed to genuinely induce either sadness, happiness, or neutrality, not performance, actual emotion. Then the owner went back to training their dog on the same task as before. And what the dogs did next dismantled one of the most widely held beliefs about the human-dog bond. When owners were sad, dogs gazed at them less, they jumped on them less, they were significantly less compliant with basic commands. Dogs behaved differently depending on the owner's emotional state. They gazed and jumped less often and were less compliant with the sit command when learning a new task from a sad owner. This is not the behavior of an animal offering comfort. This is the behavior of an animal that is absorbing your pain so completely that it can barely function. According to the research findings, it appears unlikely that dogs are capable of sympathy or empathy in the traditional sense. If dogs felt sorry for their owners, they should have displayed some form of support when the owner was sad, such as approaching them. And yet, every dog owner reading this knows that their dog does come to them when they cry. So what is actually happening? The answer involves a biological process so powerful that scientists gave it its own name. The process is called emotional contagion, and it is not a soft, feel-good concept. It is a measurable, physiological, neurological event. Here is what emotional contagion actually means. When you are sad, your dog does not think, "My owner is in pain, I should help." That requires a level of cognitive separation between self and other that the research says dogs do not possess in that way. What your dog does instead is far more intimate. Your dog feels what you feel, in their own body, biochemically. Research found that cortisol levels in both humans and dogs increased significantly from baseline after listening to human crying, a response interpreted as emotional contagion, a primitive form of empathy. The dog does not observe your distress from a safe emotional distance. The dog absorbs it. Their stress hormones rise, their heart rate changes, their entire nervous system shifts into a state that mirrors yours. And this is where the story stops being about dogs and starts being about you. Because when your dog comes and sits beside you, when they lower that warm, heavy body against your leg and stay there without moving, they are not bringing you their calm. They are bringing you their distress, their version of being with you in the pain. There is an important distinction here that most people miss entirely. True comforting, true empathy requires an animal to maintain its own stable emotional state while attending to the distress of another. The way a therapist stays composed while a client breaks down. The way a parent holds steady while a child cries. What your dog does is different. Your dog breaks down with you. They cannot maintain the separation. They don't want to. The most extraordinary piece of evidence for what dogs are actually doing comes from a study at Johns Hopkins University. Researchers recruited 34 dog and owner pairs. Each owner sat alone in a small room, closed off from their dog by a door fastened shut with magnets, light enough for any dog to push open. Dogs could see their owner through a small window in the door. Half the owners were instructed to cry, the other half were instructed to hum a simple tune. Now here's what most people report when they hear this study. They assume the dogs whose owners were crying would rush in to comfort them, and roughly half the dogs did open the door. But the number of dogs who did open the door was almost identical whether their owner was crying or humming. At first, that sounds like dogs don't care, but that interpretation misses the most important finding in the entire study. Dogs responding to owner distress open the door much faster, after an average of 23 seconds, compared to almost 96 seconds in the humming group. And among the dogs who did not open the door at all when their owner was crying, they showed significantly more signs of distress, pacing, panting, whining, than the dogs in the humming group. The researchers drew one conclusion from this: the dogs who did not open the door when their owner cried were not indifferent. They might be too anxious and upset, too overcome by emotional contagion to complete the task. Sit with that for a moment. The dogs that didn't come to you when you were crying, the ones you perhaps thought had abandoned you in your worst moment, may have been paralyzed by how deeply they were feeling it with you. They were not absent, they were overwhelmed. But here is the dimension of this story that the laboratory experiments cannot fully capture, because before the tears, before the sound of crying reaches your dog's ears, something else is already happening. Your dog already knows. Dogs possess up to 300 million olfactory receptors in their nose. Humans have approximately 6 million. That gives dogs a sense of smell estimated to be between 10,000 and 100,000 times more sensitive than ours. Research has confirmed that dogs can detect an odor associated with acute stress in humans from breath and sweat alone, providing strong evidence that there is a confirmed odor component to acute negative stress that dogs can detect in the absence of any visual or vocal cues. Your dog knew you were going to cry before you did. They smelled the shift in your body chemistry. They registered the invisible signal your nervous system was broadcasting. And they came, not because they heard your tears, but because they sensed the storm before it broke. That walk across the room towards you, that lowering of their body beside you, and stay there. That was not a response to your crying. That was the arrival of someone who had been tracking your pain long before it reached the surface. So let's bring this all the way home. When your dog comes to you when you cry, when they press close, when they stay still, when they follow you from room to room on your hardest days, here is what is actually happening inside that animal. Their cortisol is rising with yours. Their nervous system is synchronizing with yours. Their body is physically registering your pain as if it were their own pain. They are not observing your distress from safe emotional distance. They are stepping directly into it. And the dogs who seem not to respond, who retreat, who pace, who cannot quite reach you, are not cold. They are often the ones feeling it most acutely, overwhelmed by emotional contagion so complete that they cannot find the motor function to cross the room. What your dog is doing when you cry is not comforting you. It is something more primitive, more biological, and ultimately more profound than comfort. It is suffering alongside you. Not because they were trained to, not because they want a reward, but because 15,000 years of coevolution have wired them to be so attuned to your emotional state that your pain and their pain are no longer fully separate things. That is not a pet responding to a crying owner. That is one of the deepest cross-species bonds in the natural world, expressing itself the only way it knows, by refusing to let you feel it alone. The next time your dog comes to you on a difficult night, the next time they lower themselves onto the floor without being asked, press their weight against your leg and stay there. You do not need to wonder whether they understand. They understand more than comfort. They understand enough to feel it with you, in their own body, with their own nervous system, at a biological depth that most humans never achieve with each other. That is not a dog comforting you. That is a living creature choosing to be broken by the same thing that broke you, because the alternative, leaving you alone in it, is something their biology will simply not allow. At Paws and Psych, this is what we do every single week. We take the science your pets can't tell you about themselves, and we make sure you hear it. Subscribe, and next week, we answer the question that has divided researchers for decades. Does your cat actually love you, or have you been misreading every signal it has ever given you? The answer will make you look at your cat very differently. We'll see you then.